Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. John Rios, the American banker, thank you so much for joining us. Brand new papa. Congratulations. And Elizabeth Williams with Summer Core out of, where are you out of, Elizabeth?
Chicago.
I'll call you Lilybet. I'm a big Anglophile, so Lilybet is what they call them. Actually, no, Lilybet. Oh. All right, I brought it up. It's going to be Queen Elizabeth's granddaughter by Meghan and Harry. They're going to call her Lily. Okay, let's move on. John, help me out here. What's going on?
Well, generally speaking, I guess people are still focused on direct lending, whether it will pass or not, and obviously this has provoked some strong opinions both ways.
Let me interrupt you there. Let's go with our first poll question. Do you think SBA should be in the business? How's that for an answer, John?
That is pretty, like I said, it has provoked some strong opinions, but both ways. Obviously, the people who are against it are more, are present here in greater number. So,
give us a recap of where we are on this. Is I guess what I want to know. We've been reading a lot of proposals that Washington's floating. Today, a letter came out, and these are the Republicans primarily, that they're saying, no, we don't want to do this. SBA would authorize nearly 4.5 over 10 years. So that's what my math is right. What
450 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's still quite a bit. John, what do you give us a good recap? What do you think is going to happen?
This is I would love to talk to a lobbyist to get his or her opinion, but the way I see things, this is such a small component of a very, very, very large program, and regardless of the fact that it does provoke some strong opinions, within the SBA lending community, the fact that it is such a small component of a much bigger program seems to me, creates, the opportunity that it will, or the possibility that it just might slip through, because the way Congress operates, unfortunately, is, 5 minutes before funding for the government is, going to expire, it's likely that they'll make a deal. I'm obviously exaggerating, but you get my point.
Not too much. How many pages is the Build Back America bill? How many pages is it?
I don't know. I familiarize myself with the SBA portion, but I'm sure it will. It's very if you stack them. So it just seems to me that it creates that there's that optionality there that this is the type of thing that could pass, because there are strong feelings on both sides. I want to make that clear. I talked with I'm not exactly sure how to describe his organization. He doesn't actually do lending, but he sort of does. It's a gentleman who does counseling and other things, and works with small businesses, and he's very much for this. And that there are other.
Why is that? Can you help us out for the 84% who said no? What are the 13% thinking? Why do they think this is a good idea?
I guess what the concern is that regardless of the progress SBA has been making in getting more loans, more capital in the hands of smaller businesses, in the hands of minority businesses, it's just not coming fast enough. And that, and I think Senator Cardin alluded to this in the hearing last month. It could be one of the reasons for that is bank underwriting, and I don't mean to single out banks, but private sector underwriting is tougher than or the standards are stricter than what the government might be allowed to do. So the government might actually be able to take more risks, push more money into the hands of entrepreneurs, very early stage entrepreneurs and small, very small business people that are still finding it tough today to access capital.
Elizabeth, you're with a CDC. I know CDCs have, I believe you're involved in 7A lending. You have a community advantage program that you utilize. Do you want to weigh in on this, Elizabeth? What are your thoughts?
It's a tricky situation. I think we rely so heavily on our bank partners to help us help small business owners, but I do think that there is a gap and that we need to help small businesses. Maybe that's the responsibility of CDFIs or other instruments to help those people directly. The banks have been through so much with PPP lending, and to take this away from them, I think that isn't necessarily the right decision.
Elizabeth, I'm sure there's someone out there who doesn't know what we're talking about. Give me a Community Advantage 7A 101. Why did that program evolve, and what does that program is geared for?
Well, it allows us to help loan smaller dollars to clients who are looking for things outside of a 504 loan, working capital, things that are not necessarily eligible under the traditional 504. And we are looking to expand that program at Summer Corps, as well as some other types of lending, and becoming a CDFI, actually. So I definitely get contacted by people who are sort of in that in-between area, and I feel like there is really an unmet need to help those business owners.
You know what the stats are? Do you know the average size of a Community Advantage loan?
I can get back to you on that, Joe.
What do you think? Yes. Is it under 100,000? I know it's under 100,000, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would guess, but specifics I don't. Sorry.
And I think the reason why I'm talking about that, John, is SBA has given CDCs, non-depository institutions, CDFIs, other non-bank lenders the ability to make these smaller loans. So I guess my question, I don't want to put Elizabeth on the spot, but are they critical of their effort, or they just want to shock and awe and use every potential tool in the toolbox?
When you look at the size of the money that, or the amount of money that SBA, that Congress wants to allocate to
right.
lending, it's I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's $7.5 billion over 10 years. If you look at the Community Advantage program, in its history, it hasn't come close to lending $7.5 billion. And I don't mean, I'm not critical at all of the Community Advantage program. It's just that it is, for one reason or another, remained a relatively small component of the overall.
Well, and I think the reason why it's under the 7A guidelines.
Yes.
And as Elizabeth said, yeah, so they are 7A loans. They are reviewed by 7A reviewers, and you have to fit the 7A lending box, even though they have the smaller loan carve-outs. That'll be interesting to follow. And I know a lot of these proposals, for example, I've heard about the Hospitality Direct grant program. Have you heard of anything new of that, or any of these other specialty programs that Congress has been kicking around?
Well, I know that, there had been some talk of using unused emergency funding and sort of restarting some of the very targeted programs. I had heard, maybe special venue.
Right.
Let me go back because I don't want to misspeak. But basically, in a more general way, using some of the unused emergency funding to revive these very targeted programs. And it could be restaurants, it could be hospitality, or others. One area I hadn't heard, and I'm surprised that I just mentioned this, and maybe it has been brought up because I've been away some, but was hotels. I know restaurants have obviously got a program and the shuttered venue program, but I hadn't seen any, at least hadn't heard anything about.
Yeah, the only thing I've heard is the industry, the trade groups, Asian American Hotel Association, one of the largest ones, and other trade groups have been pushing for this.
Oh yes.
And you can certainly understand why. I mean, they're no different than these other restaurants and charter venues. Let's go to the second poll question. Do business acquisition loans need to have a COVID underwriting addendum? And John, you're going to be impressed about how we're flowing here today, because Joseph, very good. You got that right. 77% say yes. There is a new procedural notice out. It is attached in your attachments, and it is a reminder of they are extending that program through October 1, 2022. Elizabeth, I know that business acquisition loans can be used for 504. For 7A, it's about 24, 25%. How much, I assume the numbers are lower in 504, but you do business acquisition with 504, correct?
Absolutely. Of course, we can only finance the real estate. We cannot finance the intangibles. But yes, we definitely see, especially given the economy right now, and people have decided that they're done. COVID has kind of pushed people over the edge. And so business acquisitions are becoming more popular. And I think this is, addressed with this procedural notice.
You see many transactions where there's a hybrid where the 504 does the real estate and 7A does the business acquisition?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's usually a need to help finance that other piece, depending on the nature of the business.
And I got to ask, because it always blows my mind, what are the rates today? I mean, these are amazing rates.
25-year, about 2.91 all in.
Come on. Yeah.
Right. We're a great resource for businesses right now. The 504 was really established to help people in these times lock into these rates for long term. So we are obviously very busy.
We run out of money. Go ahead, John.
Well, that's a perfect segue to a question I wanted to ask Elizabeth, because I was just looking at the most recent weekly lending report, and this is the first for fiscal year 2022. And it surprised me for a second, and then I realized why it is. But the 504 volume is significantly higher right now than the 7A volume, and I think I understand why that is, which is that for the last roughly month of the previous fiscal year, 504 was shut down because of the funding had been exhausted, and obviously there was a lot of demand. It seems like. For these first few weeks of fiscal 2022. And I guess I would like to ask Elizabeth is, now that thankfully you're back in business, the program is back in business, was there any residual, I guess damage might be the right word, where borrowers that were really counting on funds, and I don't, perhaps at your business, but did you think program-wide that this hurt any? Because it was a relatively long shutdown of, I guess, close to a month that you were on the sidelines. The program was on the sidelines.
I think my clients have been, I haven't experienced much backlash. We've had over 20 million approved in this first couple weeks that should have been approved in September. But the rates came down. The reduction in the rates definitely helped. So overall, I think there was a perfect storm making this a record year with the exposure to the SBA with PPP, the enhancements that came out, and that bankers tightening up their credit box and wanting to do a 504. I had a record-breaking year, unlike no other. I had 57 loans approved. So the demand continues to be strong, and I'm really happy about that. It's
very good.
I don't see a slowdown.
Right. Well, that's a good point that I didn't consider, that rates actually came down in the interval, and that for a lot of people, I guess it was a happy ending. So.
Yes, to come back and say, well, the fees were reduced by about 25 basis points. The flip side is maybe you didn't get the fee enhancements, but you did actually benefit in other ways. So yeah, I haven't had a lot of complaints.
Good. Elizabeth, I know that that product is different than PLP. The bank can approve the PLP on behalf of the government and sign for it. 504, I don't think anybody has that authority as a CDC, so you need to go through another step of SBA set of eyes. There's always rumblings and there's always things they look at. What are the things they're looking at right now that that are causing, I shouldn't say causing it. What is the special emphasis on SBA 504 review right now? How's that without getting you in trouble?
You know, the pendulum always seems to swing one way or the other on certain issues, and I know that we were having some situations with business acquisitions where the SBA would consider a business acquisition when maybe it wasn't really a business acquisition, pretty unrelated business acquiring a building, and they're wanting to see the tax returns of the seller. But I think that's being worked out. They're very receptive to feedback when the CDCs get together and provide that. So hopefully we're reversing that a little bit.
Yeah, I know there's always issues when they do this. Same with Citrus Heights and 7A. I'm not picking on the SBA or that. Let's see. John, let's see, we have this month is National Hispanic Heritage Month. How important are these type of events for the program? Is this fluff or is this really, this is good stuff? Not to put you on the spot.
I think, anything like this that gives, people a chance to celebrate their achievements is good. I always like to see that, and I love to see the stories of entrepreneurs, in this case Hispanic entrepreneurs, and learn about just how they've gotten to where they've gotten. So.
Oh, you're absolutely right. My full disclosure, my daughter-in-law is from El Salvador. Now, she didn't go the entrepreneur route, but she came to the United States in 5th grade, couldn't speak English, quickly figured out if she was top of her class, she could do whatever she wanted, and she just graduated from law school with the student loans, and also gave out 3 granddaughters in the process. Go figure that one out. So I love hearing these stories, and I'm with you. I am for that. Any special emphasis on that you're being pressured from SBA, Elizabeth, on minority type of lending? I don't see it out there at the individual level.
We are very active with Hispanic Heritage Month. Our president, Manny Flores, is Hispanic, and we're very involved with the Hispanic Chamber as well, members as a result. I don't see any pressure. I think also I was brought on to help women business owners and increase our loan volume with women bankers and women business owners. And I think it's Women's Small Business Month also. So that's my plug for that. John, I'm with you. You just asked how these people got started and just sit back and hear the stories. And then they're amazing. Yes.
Elizabeth, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much. I understand maybe we can get you on a regular basis. Have you come on and talk about 504? It's awesome. John, as always, I thank you. Congratulations, Papa.
Thank you, Bob. Good to be back.
And thank you for your Washington insights. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Thank you.